Hello, I'm Alexia, and let me help you to take the fear out of birth with a mix of real-life positive birth stories and birthing experts sharing their wisdom. I'll also be sharing techniques for getting into the fearless birthing mindset. And join the Fearless Momship community for bonus podcast episodes, access to free birth preparation downloads, and loads more stuff to help you to prepare for a positive birth. Join today at fearfreechildbirth.com. Hello and welcome back to the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. This is me, your host, Alexia Leachman, and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, on today's show, I'm covering a really important topic that I can't believe I haven't covered yet, and that is essential oils and use of essential oils during pregnancy. I don't know about you, but I'm in quite a lot of birth groups, pregnancy groups, and there are so many questions about what essential oils you can use. People packing clary sage for their birth bag and wondering whether they can do it or not. And lots of questions about what they can and can't use. And especially when you can't use a lot of medication when you're pregnant, essential oils might be a good place to turn, but it is fraught, isn't it? We don't know what we can and can't use. So today I've got a brilliant guest, Amber Duncan, who's coming on to help to put the record straight. She will explain everything that you need to know about essential oils. I mean, she has packed so much brilliant stuff into the chat that we have together. I was just amazed when I was going through editing our chat. I was like, oh my goodness, she's just shared so much really useful information. So don't go away. That interview is just coming up in a minute, but I have got a couple of things to share with you first. First of all, I just want to let you know about the Facebook group. I don't know if you're in the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook group, but this is where it's all happening now. This is where you are more than likely to find me. If you need to message me, if you need to ask me anything, that's where I am. Better than email, because I have way too many emails I know what to do with at the moment, and it's stressing me out. I have to be honest. I am getting a little bit stressed by my email situation. So if I'm not getting back to you, that's why I'm getting stressed, because I've just got too many of the little fellas flying into my inbox. So the Facebook group is where to come and find me. Now, we've been doing loads of Facebook Lives in there. Over the last week, I've had Susanna Grant, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks back. We did a Facebook Live together all about trauma, birth trauma, and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to check out the chat, you can go back, watch it, listen to it, and get what you need. Then also I did there's a couple of others I did. I think I've done one on inductions, how to deal with the whole pressure to be induced. And then just now I've just finished doing a Facebook Live with Julianne Mullen, who was a previous guest on the podcast. She's a birth therapist. She's also a very active member of the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook group. And we were talking about the emotional journey of pregnancy, recurrent miscarriages, the emotional aspect of that, which, following on from last week's episode with Nava, I think was really good to cover some of that stuff as well. So if you are experiencing recurrent miscarriages, then there's some stuff that Julianne shares about that on the emotional side of that as well. So yeah, do come and check out the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook group. If you want to join, all you need to do is go to the Fear Free Childbirth Facebook page and you just click the button that says join, and you will get your link straight away, and then you just need to wait to be approved. And as long as you don't look like a spammy person, i.e. you've got a Facebook photo and that kind of thing, then we're going to let you in, basically. So, look forward to seeing you inside the Facebook group. Now, the other thing I just want to mention is also coming up very, very soon. We've got the Fearless Birth Prep Challenge coming up. If you are pregnant and you want help just getting your head around your birth planning, your birth preparation, pulling together your birth plan, understanding what you want, what you don't want for your birth, what you need to do to prepare, how you can just cut through all that overwhelm, all that stuff that you read on Google that is just everywhere, that can be a little bit confusing, a little bit overwhelming, then join the Fearless Birth Prep Challenge. We'll be running that very soon. I will be sharing details in the Facebook group and on the Facebook page very, very soon, where you can sign up to take part in the challenge. It's going to be kicking off in the next few weeks. It's very exciting. I'll tell you why it's very exciting, because I'm in the middle of pulling together prizes for the Facebook challenge. I am not the Facebook challenge, the Fearless Birth Prep Challenge. This is how excited I am. I'm talking to a lot of the people that I've had on the podcast as guests. I'm getting people giving me signed copies of books, which is very exciting. And also, well, there's lots of other stuff. I'm not going to give too much away now, but yes, there are prizes for those who do take part. Now, if you want to join the Fearless Birth Prep Challenge, all you need to do is go to fearfreechildbirth.com/challenge. challenge, and then you'll be added to the list of people on the challenge. How exciting. And you will receive an email straight away to confirm that you are indeed part of the challenge, and then you just need to await further instructions. It will be kicking off the next few weeks, like I said, so that is all you need to do. So you go to fearfreechildbirth.com/challenge. So yeah, this is for you if you are pregnant. This is definitely for you if you're pregnant. Okay, that's enough. Now I'm going to hand over now to the chat that I had with Amber. Amber Duncan is brilliant. She knows so much about essential oils. She's a clinical aromatherapist. So that, in my head at least, means that she's, done it at the top level, basically. And so she has a lot of expertise to share, a lot of knowledge. She's also had 3 little ones, so she is very familiar with the pregnancy journey, the birth journey, and she works with pregnant women today in terms of advising them on their use of essential oils. So lots of stuff to share. She's also got a lovely freebie that we're giving away as part of today's episode as well. So stay tuned to find out more about what that is and how you need to get hold of it. So I hope that, well, it's all too exciting. I'm just going to stop watching on now and now just hand over to the chat that I had with Amber, because it is a cracking one. It absolutely is. Get a notepad, make some notes, because it's that kind of episode. It really is that kind of episode. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, Amber, and welcome to the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, Amber, you are a clinical aromatherapist, and today we are going to be talking all about essential oils. I cannot wait because I love essential oils, but I know zip all when it comes to what essential oils pregnant women and can use and what we can use in birth. So this is really what I want to talk to you about, and what I know that a lot of women want to know more about, because they love essential oils. They want to use them as part of their pregnancy and their birth. So are you ready?
I am ready.
Brilliant. So before we start, just tell us a little bit about how you came to be a clinical, not a hypnotherapist, aromatherapist.
My husband's active duty and got us assigned out to Okinawa, Japan. And he, decided to deploy, he decided to deploy, and I got bored. So, because living on an island with 2 small children, you have nothing better to do, right?
Yep. So
I started getting into the holistic side because it's very, very big there. They do a lot of herbals. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And so I started off with a certain essential oil company, and a lot of what they said didn't sit good in my stomach, that gut sense that we all need to trust. So I started doing more research, and I found that, wow, you could actually get certified in aromatherapy. Who knew? So I signed myself up for a course, and man, I learned so much in that first course, and I left that company that I was working with, and I was actually pregnant with my second during this time. I didn't have a second yet. And so I wanted to use the oils, but then I got really scared, because there's all this information about what not to use and all the things that it could do wrong. So I didn't use any in my second pregnancy because I was just so scared. And I was like, coming out of that, I'm like, that's not the way, that wasn't the intent of, the courses. That's not the intent of being an aromatherapist. It's, being able to use them just safely. So I started doing a lot of research into pregnancy and what was really safe, since that was my situation. So when I came time to be pregnant with my third, I was much more comfortable, and I had used them with clients before my third pregnancy. So I was able to work with pregnant people and then use them in my own pregnancy, and I've continued to do so, just because there is a lot you can do. You just have to watch and be careful of what you do.
Well, there is, and that's the thing with essential oils, is there's so much to take into consideration from my limited knowledge. The things that I want to ask you about that I'm sure we'll cover, things like, you can't just assume that when you buy something that says 100% whatever it is, that it is that, and it's pure enough and it's good enough, and that you can use it clinically versus for aroma, so there's so much to take into consideration. So yeah, without me kind of bumbling through that, what were some of the first things that you learned that you thought, oh my goodness, this is really, in terms of pregnancy, this is really helping me to understand what I can and can't do?
Well, with pregnancy, it was really getting that first list of, what's not safe and why. Actually looking at the actual chemical components within the essential oils that are actually the risk factor. Because for a lot of oils, it's not the entire oil. It's actually just a very specific chemical component that's within it. And when you realize that and you go, okay, so it's this chemical, and you can go, okay, well, now I can just avoid that chemical. If that's the chemical that can, cause abortion, or if that's the chemical that can prevent, the baby's liver from forming, okay, I can avoid that. That's easy. So then having that list, because when you get a list, you sit there and go, okay, well, why? Yes, great, I have a list down, but why can't I use these? What's the real reason? At least my mind, it wants to know more. So knowing the actual chemical components and the real breakdown really helped me respect the oils more, in the fact that I knew they could do this damage, and here's exactly what it was that was going to cause it and what that risk factor was. So, I mean, for most people in their at-home use and their use in their pregnancy, they don't really need to know all that. Like, that's a very, in-depth perspective, and it's what I love. Part of why I became an aromatherapist is I love all that knowledge. But for most people in there, they just kind of need that list, unless they really want to know more, in which case then I'm happy to share. But, for most people, it's like, okay, well, what can't I use? And when you hand them that list, which actually isn't that long, it seems really long, but it's really not. It opens up this world of, okay, well, I can use everything else. As far as, unless you actually personally have a sensitivity to it, in which case then don't. But anything not on that list is open.
So let's start from the top then. Let's start from the top with essential oils. What are the main ways that we can use essential oils? Because there are, a lot of people just assume it's an aromatherapy thing, but actually there's more to it, isn't there? So would you mind just sort of, just explaining how we can possibly use essential oils that's other than just sort of whiffing their lovely fragrance?
Well, whiffing their lovely fragrance actually is the best, because up to 70% of the essential oil will actually get into your body systems when you use it through inhalation. Whereas your topical use is only about 30%. So if you really do want the positive effects from aromatherapy, you want to use them in that way, the aromatic way. There's actually, you can put a couple of drops on a cotton ball, because, straight out of the bottle, the oils are extremely strong. When you put your face right there, it's like, wow, that's actually really potent. But if you put like a drop or two on a cotton ball inside of a little plastic bag, that scent is far more manageable. And you can carry it with you wherever you go, which is really great for labor, to have several essential oils in that way, in the baggies, or there's things called aroma inhalers. I'm not sure if there's any other verbiage where you are for them. But,
so what are they? That sounds really interesting. What is that?
Yeah, they're little plastic tubes, and inside is cotton wick.
Ah.
And the plastic tube has a cover on it, so you literally can just open it up and breathe in the essential oil whenever you need to.
Yeah.
And the way the oils are on there, that can last 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
So, you make your essential oils really last, and therefore not spend as much money if you use things like that. And like I said, using those for labor, because you never know when your scent aversions are going to change. Being able to put it away and get it away from you in labor is a really good thing.
That is such a good point. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because some people will just go and buy some like a diffuser for the room, and then suddenly they were like, I hate this smell, open all the windows, and you can't. And yeah, good point. Brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, my hospital offers a diffuser. I'm like, don't use it. No, because you never know when that scent, and then not to mention, you don't know who's coming in and out of the room, then they might, be allergic to the scent. So it's just like, you know what? Keep it on an inhaler, keep it on a little cotton ball in a baggie. So much easier for you, for everybody else, all your other caregivers. Oh my word. It's amazing. People are like, oh, that makes so much more sense. I'm like, yeah, let's not the diffusers.
Mind you, I'm going to buy a diffuser for my office, but that's a very different thing, isn't it? Because that's just me working at home. Yeah. If I was going to labour in my office, I probably wouldn't use it. Good point. So this is brilliant. Excellent. Okay. So we talked about smelling them, the aroma. You've talked about also the topical, and then there's also the other way, which is ingesting it, isn't it?
There is. Ingestion really, really needs to be done under the care of somebody well-trained. I don't even have that training as a clinical aromatherapist. There's a specific field called aromatic medicine, and that's where somebody's going to want to go, because essential oils should only be ingested for maximum of 2 weeks at a time. So there's a lot of companies that push for these vitamins, and I'm using air quotes for those listening. But essential oils offer you nothing as far as supplementation goes for your body. And they, honestly, your body doesn't need them. They always go, well, here, use this Zyto scanner, or what else? There's some other ones that do the same thing. And they can read your skin and tell you which oils you need. Your body doesn't need essential oils. Plants need the essential oils. That's why they make them. Your body needs certain things, but essential oils aren't one of them. There's no vitamins. There's literally nothing in the essential oil that your body needs for a day-to-day use. Now, we can use them to help with certain situations, yes, but as far as our body needing them, it's not the case.
So the use of the word medicine is critical here, because as we wouldn't take medicine regularly, you take it to address an issue, and then once the issue's addressed, you stop. So that's a really, fine, okay, clear.
Exactly where the aromatic medicine comes in. People need to, heed that. And, we're seeing a lot of damage to livers and kidneys from people using these essential oil capsules long term that never needed to, because it truly, all it does is back up in your liver. So it doesn't bring anything. So I don't ever recommend ingestion, and the few people that I know that are aromatic medicine practitioners don't recommend it in pregnancy at all.
Okay.
Because now you're risking, the liver of a small new human. Yeah. So it's just not worth it in the end. Okay. And you've got to weigh that, risk versus, benefit situation. So topical is definitely the way to go if they have any, specific situations, like, when your feet start really hurting, it starts swelling up. Getting a good foot massage with some nice essential oils, excellent way to go. I mean, if you convince anybody to give you the extra foot massage, it's better anyway. So I highly recommend it. And when you use topical, you only want to use a 1% dilution, which means 5 to 6 drops of essential oil approximately in an ounce of carrier oil.
Okay, so name me some carrier oils.
Carrier oils are still made from plants, but they're made more from the nuts, and they are thicker, and so they're like your jojoba wax, your coconut oil. If you've ever heard of baobab seed oil, that's an amazing one. Tamanu oil is one of actually my favorites as far as for any kind of skin breakdown, because it's amazingly analgesic and anti-inflammatory all by itself.
Which one was that? Say that again.
Tamanu.
Tamania, okay. I've not heard of that.
Most people haven't, and I think it's wrong.
I'm going to put that. You need to send me a list, and I'm going to put all these on the show notes so that people can see it written down, and then they can go and hunt it out and get it in their cabinet.
Go hunt that one, because if you have any kind of joint pain or ligament pain, muscle pain, it is truly an amazing oil, and you can use it all by itself. And it'll help with the pain relief. You don't even need to add your essential oils. Adding your essential oils just brings bonus.
Brilliant. And what about olive oil?
Olive oil. Olive oil, as long as you like the scent and the feel of it, is perfect.
Okay.
It's all about, what you like, and especially in pregnancy, because we all get very, needy and touchy and only like certain things the way we like them.
And I think I was pretty much basting myself in coconut oil during my pregnancy.
Yes, real coconut oil.
Yeah, good coconut oil was really good for me. So let's think about pregnancy then. The kind of things that you might have on your pregnancy journey, maybe some common pregnancy symptoms, perhaps things like heartburn, or like you mentioned, the swollen ankles. Are there any things out of all that pregnancy journey that essential oils can really help and support women so that they have somewhere to go when they can't take medication to help them? Where can essential oils help them on that journey?
Headaches.
Okay.
We all, don't we all get those? When they just start really setting in because of all the extra blood flow. So headaches, you can use things like lavender, and lavender, obviously, there's many different types. So lavandula angustifolia, I'll add it to the notes I send you, is a great one because it's analgesic, it's anti-inflammatory, it's antidepressant, it's anti-rheumatic, and it's an immunostimulant. So it helps keep up the immune system, which is something we all have issues with when we're, once again, trying to grow another person. We always just seem to get sick. Frankincense is another great essential oil for that same situation. Again, it's analgesic, it's anti-inflammatory, and immune stimulating. Thing about immune stimulating oils is if anybody has an autoimmune disorder, they can actually mess with that because autoimmune disorders are your immune system is already overstimulated. So some people find that certain essential oils, especially that are immune stimulating, make the symptoms of their autoimmune disease worse. And so something to be aware of when you're using different essential oils, just to watch out for those things to change. Because small symptom changes can be big. So you don't want to do that. Anxiety is another one. I know a lot of
that common one.
Especially as you start rounding that third trimester, heading into labor, all the fears start coming down. So bergamot is a great one. It's an antidepressant. It's emotionally relaxing, and it's calming while still being uplifting. So it helps give you that kind of sense of peace, and you can still get stuff done. You're not falling asleep while you're getting stuff done. So lavender, again, is another great one for that. Neroli is also a good antidepressant, CNS sedative, so it helps calm you. It's immune stimulating, and it can help relax your nerves, calm your body down. And ylang ylang is another one that can all help with that anxiety situation that comes with labor. As far as swollen feet, you can use cypress. Cypress is a great one to use for swollen feet and for sore feet, or for also restless leg. When you just want to go and you just can't get them to stop, especially in the middle of the night. For a lot of these things, massage helps a lot on its own, and then you add in the power and the potency of the essential oils, and you can do just so much more. So it's a lot to be able to do that.
What about heartburn? Is there anything that can help with heartburn?
In my personal experience, no. Heartburn seemed to hate me, but
my top tip with heartburn was the hot chocolate and the ginger biscuit last thing at night, because the milk combined with the ginger really helped me, and I avoided all. But obviously we're all different, right? But that's nothing to do with essential oils. But while we're on the topic.
Well, exactly. And with mine, I had heartburn with all 3 pregnancies 24 hours a day.
Did you?
And
were your babies born with a head of hair?
No.
Oh, really? Because I read that heartburn is because your baby's going to be born with a head of hair. And both mine had huge mops of black hair when they came out. So I thought, oh, well, that's why. But yours didn't. So isn't that interesting?
Well, I wanted them to have huge mops of hair because I put up with all that heartburn. I was like, you better have hair. And no, the first 2 came out bald. The third one had hair, but the first came out bald, and they didn't grow hair till they were like 2.
Oh, wow. So essential oils then for heartburn. Nothing worked for you, but generally, is there anything that you think might work for other women?
Yeah, a little bit of topical application of something like peppermint. After the first trimester, I wouldn't do it within the first trimester, just because peppermint can be a little funky with certain people. So, but after that, peppermint, a little bit of topical application of peppermint, or even just inhaling it. So inhaling some lemon can really. Because, all it is an overactive use of the acid in our stomach. I also highly recommend going to see a chiropractor if they have a really overactive heartburn, just because they can actually help close the valve if the valve is stuck open. From your esophagus to your stomach, because if the valve is caught open, nothing's going to really stop it. So I highly recommend the use of a chiropractor in the holistic health handbag. Yeah.
So earlier on, right at the beginning, you mentioned there are certain things that really should be on the list that we should avoid. So what are those things that we should be avoiding as a pregnant woman that were on that list that you hinted at the beginning?
Oh, there's so many on that list.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yeah, and I will actually include that in my notes to you, so everybody has a good list to use of the ones to avoid, because I have a nice printout that you can actually link everybody to, make everybody's lives really easy. But some things that they want to watch out for are oils, anise, which is used in a lot of like tummy tamer kind of blends, is actually shouldn't be used in pregnancy or lactation, because it can have strong estrogen-like effects, and is a anti-platelet aggregate. It's a platelet aggregate inhibitor. So it slows your ability to stop bleeding, and that's not something we want. Especially when you go into labor, we don't need hemorrhaging, but you don't want that in causing issues with the fetus. They can also disrupt the implantation of the fetus. So these are things we don't want to be doing.
So just thinking on that, that might be something you want to avoid if you're trying to get pregnant as well. Then,
yes, it is. Anise, star anise, sweet fennel. All have that same component.
Okay. Good to know. Top tip there. Brilliant.
Yes. So you don't want, there's just things you gotta, watch out for. So another one, thuja, tansy, any of your wormwoods really shouldn't be used. And you shouldn't, I know in many cases they don't recommend that you use even the herbs, depending on who you ask, for those things, because they're can be neurotoxic, hepatotoxic, so they're toxic to the brain, the kidneys, and they can also be toxic to the genes in general.
So when you say herbs, what do you mean? Are you talking like all herbs?
Of those plants.
Okay.
Like wormwood, the full plant is almost always recommended for avoidance.
Okay.
Not just the essential oil, but the full plant.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Because you can find, obviously when you go to an herb shop, you can, buy the herb as a whole plant still, or just the leaves, and get teas and stuff like that. So a big one that I see a lot is wintergreen, and that's really not recommended to be used at all during pregnancy or lactation, again, because it's actually been shown to cause death.
Oh my goodness.
In small ones. So it's methyl salicylate, which is basically aspirin, which causes it. And a lot of people use it in their muscle blends, for like when they're with their aches and pains. And anybody who is obviously pregnant or lactating, small children shouldn't use it because they can actually develop Reye's syndrome, which is, the aspirin issues with small children. Anybody who's allergic to aspirin obviously shouldn't. I actually had a situation where a lady, I was at my office and consultant handed her a little packet of a muscle blend. She's like, yeah, I'm going to put it on my shoulder. I was like, well, don't use it if you're taking a lot of aspirin already. She's like, well, I'm allergic to aspirin. I was like, please don't put that on you. And she's like, oh, I had no idea.
It's a bit scary, isn't it, thinking, that when you can buy this stuff quite easily, and yet when you're buying it at point of purchase, there isn't anybody that's maybe advising you on this kind of stuff.
There's not.
And I can understand why some people might think, oh, I'm just going to steer clear of all essential oils because they are so potent, and you just don't know. And generally at point of purchase, people aren't qualified in them in the way that they probably need to be. And, you could easily make some mistakes, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I go to a local shop here once a week on Mondays. I'm there for, an hour and a half to answer any questions, because the manager of that store knows that they're not trained in it. And she's like, it'd be awesome to have somebody here who could actually answer the questions and can actually know. And so, when I'm there, I'm training some of the employees that want to learn more on what to do and, what the concerns are with certain essential oils, especially when I look on their shelf and they're selling some stuff that really, like thuja, which is, a neurotoxic. I'm like, you guys don't need to be selling that. There's almost no real use in a home setting that this needs to be used. But, here it is. So here's the concerns with it. Just make sure if somebody grabs this, hopefully they don't. But if they do, say these things just to make them aware. Because most people aren't aware. They're like, oh, this sounds great. Or it smells pretty. And then they take it home and you don't know what happens. At the point of sale, most people don't know what they're really doing. That's why I really recommend everybody uses, companies, aromatherapy companies, and buying, most of the time you have to buy them online unless you actually have a really cool storefront near you. But by people who actually know what those oils do, and they have descriptions and they have the safety considerations on their website, because not all websites do that. Some of the websites only list the good things that the oils do, but they don't list the concerns. It's like, wait, well, can I use this on my 1-year-old? Can I use this when pregnant? Where's the safety info? So when you're picking out an essential oil company, that should be one of the things that you check off. Okay, on their website, can I see safety information? And if you can't, maybe you don't give them your money. Money to spend with as you want, but use that to decide what you are comfortable with as far as a company and what's safe for you.
And what about the fact that there isn't, I don't know, is there any research or evidence that's been carried out with regards to essential oils, or do they suffer from the thing that affects a lot of alternative health things, that is like, nobody's going to spend any money on it because they can't trademark it, they can't patent it, and so they can't make a shed load of money off the back of paying for the research, which is what affects a lot of pharmaceutical stuff. So, I worked in the vitamin industry, and there's hardly any research around anything like vitamin C, even though we know it helps the immune. We can't say it because there's no evidence, because nobody will pay for the evidence. So you're in a little bit of a catch-22 where you're just saying, it might help you with this and it might help you with that. We can't really be very outspoken about what they absolutely help with because of this lack of evidence. So what's the situation with essential oils?
There is actually, with the advent of essential oils being as popular as they are right now, there is actually a lot of research going into them. That obviously is going to be a double-edged sword. But there's also a lot of information about specific chemicals. Like I talked about how, specific chemicals within an essential oil, that's the problem. Most pharmaceuticals are based off of the plants. So they actually, what they do is they take the essential oil, they take the plant, they find the one thing that makes it work, the one thing that makes it tick, and they pull it out and they start recreating it in a lab. Why? Because they can patent that. So there's actually a lot of good research on specific components within these essential oils. So you can search, lavender essential oil, and you can go over the stuff that's in it and see what it's been shown to do. There's not a lot of research, obviously, on pregnancy because, it's unethical. We have these called ethics, and they won't let us,
test on pregnant women.
Risk hurting a unborn person. So ethics, we don't know with pregnancy. So it's really, you have to just be extra careful. What we see in lab rats isn't necessarily what we're going to see in humans. There's a few situations where the dose that it should have been, and I'm using air quotes again, if the values from what killed the lab rat had actually worked, the level is say 100, and what we've actually seen kill somebody accidentally is at like a 20. It's like, okay, well, so what the lab rats told us and what's actually safe are two completely different numbers. And what's actually killed somebody is way lower of a value than we thought should have ever killed somebody. And we've actually seen that with accidental ingestion and accidental poisonings, is seeing that differentiation and going, okay, well, that's a lot more dangerous than we thought it was. And that's one thing that the science does help give us. It gives us approximate numbers, and it gives us kind of a place to start. And other than that, we just do have a lot of anecdotal stuff with essential oils, saying, well, I've seen this work. One big case of, your anecdotal versus your science is clary sage. Okay. I know we talked about it. We started talking about it at the beginning. The science says that the scleral content in clary sage is not high enough to cause you to go into preterm labor. However, you have a group of midwives and doulas and people who work in the birth field that have seen people use clary sage and go into preterm labor, and it cause fetal distress. They've seen it. They've seen people come and go, oh, I was using clary sage, and all of a sudden they're, a month preterm. So should it, according to the science? No. The science says absolutely not. But the anecdotal shows it causing an issue. So it's really hard then, because people are like, oh, well, the scientists say clary sage is perfectly safe. You can use it throughout your entire pregnancy. Nothing's going to happen. And then I'm sitting over here going, well, can we just trust the midwives that have been doing it for years?
Yeah.
It's an issue.
But also, scientists don't even know what triggers labour. We don't know why labour starts. We're still trying to answer that question. So to have a debate as to whether clary sage might or might not start it feels like a really pointless conversation to be having, because we don't even know what triggers labour. So this is, it's really worthwhile going into this stuff with your eyes open when it comes to trusting the science, I think, because the science doesn't have all the answers. It's only looking at it from a certain perspective, and it doesn't have everything at its fingertips. Anyway, that's a different conversation. So back to the clary sage.
Exactly. But yes, so I personally and professionally don't recommend clary sage until 39 weeks.
Okay.
Because of what has been seen. But there's an entire side of the field that's like, no, it's perfectly fine, use it throughout. And so that really is up to, but I think it's worth noting to the person, the client, like, okay, this is what science says, this is what's been seen. You make the decision, because it's your body and your pregnancy. I don't know how hard it was for you to get there. I don't know how, what you've been through. So I'm not going to say, yeah, use this, and then, risk it putting you in. That's up to you.
Unless she's being threatened with an induction at 39 weeks, then she might want to maybe, then that might be a good thing to do.
We can do.
Why would we be taking clary sage in the first place then? What's the benefit of taking clary sage? Like, why would a woman be using it during her pregnancy? What are the reasons for that?
Clary sage is a very good calming oil.
Okay.
But there's a lot of really good calming oils. I personally have never seen a reason that clary sage needs to be used where another oil that we know to be safe can't be used in its place.
So what could you use instead of clary sage if you want to calm yourself during? I mean, you've mentioned some of these already.
Exactly,
you've mentioned, lavender was one.
Lavender is so easy to come by.
Lavender is the catch-all. It's the most. I think lavender is the most. It's the superhero of the essential oil world, isn't it? It's right. It does everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is your catch-all.
Yeah.
Essential oil. It can kind of just help with everything. It has that ability to work with your particular situation, and kind of meld itself to work with you best. So yeah, lavender is one that everybody should probably have in their,
I've got a bottle in every room pretty much.
So yeah, I mean, lavender is a great one, and it can do that. I mean, unless you really can't stand the smell of lavender, which is always a case in pregnancy. You never know what that's going to do. So, neroli, ylang-ylang, like I said, even your citrus ones can be very calming while still being uplifting. So
avoid clary sage until. So when would be a good time to start considering clary sage? Because I see clary sage, and there's so many pregnancy groups I'm part of, and I just see loads of people talking about, I've got my clary sage ready. It's just everyone's talking about it. So when would they start needing to think about using clary sage?
That is going to be a very personal decision, because even natural induction methods are still trying to put your body into a situation where it's not ready to be yet.
Yeah.
I'm a high advocate for letting your body go until it's ready to go into labor. And this is coming from somebody who, with the third pregnancy and was over 40 weeks, tried everything in the book. None of
I've got the t-shirt.
My third one, I did everything. And nothing put me into labor, which, helped solidify, I kind of had that, back of my head, like, you're not going to go into labor until your body's ready. It doesn't matter what you do, short of a medical induction. And so, and then I did all of that and never went into labor. All of, the practitioners standing back going, you should have had a kid by now with what we did. And I'm like, body wasn't ready. It's just what it was. It sucked for me. I hated it, but, some people enjoy being pregnant. I'm not one of them. So, it really is just a very personal decision. Now, obviously, if they're facing a medical induction and they're really against that, because if they really are afraid of that, cascade of, treatment situation, then they can start looking at it. But I highly recommend they talk to their midwife, or they talk to somebody in that situation. They talk to a clinical aromatherapist. They talk to, somebody in their situation to make sure it's, a safe dilution, like I was talking about, that dilution, and make sure, check if they're on any other medications, check how their pregnancy's been going. I hate putting out a recommendation and then somebody who shouldn't be using it. So my main recommendation is always to talk to a professional before you do anything trying to get that induction started.
And out of all those midwives and doulas that witnessed the impact of using Clarisage, what kind of time frame are we generally talking in terms of, is it people that have been using it regularly on an ongoing basis, or is it, I had a whiff of it yesterday and oh my goodness, my waters are broken? I mean, what kind of how long does it take to take effect, or
It depends on the person.
Okay.
Don't you love that? And with anecdotal evidence, we're not 100% sure of dilution ratios. We're not 100% sure how many times they were applying it. They'll say, I applied it a few times. Well, what was a few? Or so. I mean, we only have anecdotal evidence. We don't have anything really solid to stand on.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those. It depends on the person. Some people, can be like, oh, I, took a bite of some hot sauce and I went into labor right away. Well,
it could just be a coincidence, couldn't it? When we're trying all that stuff in that last few weeks, you don't know whether it was the pineapple, the curry, or the sex, or the Clarisage. You don't know what it was, but suddenly your body went, right, it's all happening. So it's difficult to say, isn't it, what works?
Yeah, and maybe it was just time, and they coincide, and because we only have anecdotal evidence, we can't determine that.
Yeah, okay.
So
what other essential oils would be worth a woman bringing into her labour room, or when she's packing her hospital bag or packing her bag to go to the birth centre? What should she be packing essential oils wise in her little packets of cotton wool or whatever she's doing?
That's her little baggies, all of her little baggies. She should definitely have a lavender, because we love lavender for calming. She can have a cotton ball of peppermint, because when that, nausea hits in labor, peppermint is a great go-to. If she can't stand peppermint, ginger is another great one to have with her. And really anything, once again, that's not on the no-go list that she enjoys the scent of is a great call.
Okay.
Because when you have a scent that you really enjoy, it helps make everything just seem better.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, I have my clients go through and smell many of my different oils to see what they're kind of drawn to and called to and what feels good. Because in labor, you just want what feels good. Because there's so much going on that doesn't feel good and that you just want something uplifting to you. So really, that's anything not on the no-go list that's really comforting is something I highly recommend.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun because everybody's going to have a different answer. Lavender tends to be a really big one. Sweet orange, having that nice pretty
that's nice.
Tends to be a really good one. Once again, neroli for calming, excellent. Having the peppermint or ginger for nausea, all are great options. But really keep it to that little baggie, the little cotton ball inside of a baggie. That way, if you change your mind, which can happen, we are women, you can put it away.
Now, I'm a real geeky kind of immediately when I'm hearing you say this, I'm thinking, well, I'm just thinking about the different kind of needs you might have in labour. So there might be the calming need, there'll be the nauseous need, there might be the uplifting need for when you've just been going on for hours and you just need to wake up a bit. And so it could be that you have your little wake up bag, your little calming bag, and in there you've got a little mix of baggies, depending on if there's a fragrance that you don't like. You're like, no, the ginger, I can't bear ginger, take that away from me, give me the peppermint. Oh, that's working, fine. And so that your husband can just go, oh, calming back, right? It just feeds you these little baggies until he hits on the fragrance that works for you in that moment. And to get really organised in advance. I mean, that could be worth doing, couldn't it, if you're so inclined? If you're a bit geeky.
I love that idea. I think I want to put up a picture of a bag set up like that now, actually.
You could sell that online and make a ton.
I am making a note to myself. We are going to start selling those bags. That way they can put whatever cotton ball scent they want in there.
Yeah.
We'll just have the bags all lined up for them. Yeah. 4 scents of each different situation.
Exactly.
We got you covered.
It's brilliant. I'm making a note too.
Make it a note. You get started over there. I'll get started over here.
Brilliant. So now fast forward after the birth now, and I'm thinking post-birth recovery. You know, there was, I had to go and get suited, and I knew I ended up buying some, is it tea bags online where you could just soak them in the bath, and it would just help you to heal and to repair and to soothe and, you know, to reduce the inflammation and all that stuff. And those baths were just amazing. So, you know, where can essential oils help us on that recovery journey?
Once again, those same, you know, calming and uplifting oils, because we all know that the change in hormones right after labor are crazy. So using ylang ylang, which is a really good, just helps with, you know, that hormonal changes. That's a great go-to, just because there's going to be a lot of hormonal changes. But don't forget that, you know, the baby's main way of getting to know you when they don't open their eyes yet is scent. So you don't want to have a whole bunch of other scents going on. You want baby to be able to smell you.
Yeah.
So you don't want applying a lot to yourself.
Okay.
And especially nothing to like your chest or to your breasts if you're breastfeeding. Because baby needs to not be breathing all that in.
Yeah.
But truly, you know, scent is the newborn's biggest way to bond. And that helps their stuff get going, you know, all their hormone changes that have to happen in order for life to really take place, and for them to truly thrive. That's all hormonal. That's all related to the scent and the changes that they start to feel. So I really recommend staying away from anything topical, because of that. You want baby to be able to smell you. Again, diffuser use around a newborn, you don't really want, once again, all that scent. So keeping just those little baggies like we were talking about means that you fit in without the baby being affected by it. Sitz baths are great, which are like little tea baggies and stuff like that, and you can buy those at most, you know, health food kind of stores, or online. Most of them won't have essential oils in them, because essential oils could actually, if you were to get sutured, they could actually eat through the sutures.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know.
Because they are oils. I see a lot of people going, "Oh, I made a peri spray with these oils," and I'm going, sutures, please. And I mean, for most cases, you don't want to use essential oils on open wounds anyway. And, you know, when you talk about the fact that, you know, your cervix is still as, you know, huge and everything, you don't want oils getting up into your uterus or anything like that. So I wouldn't recommend using them down there.
So even in a bath, so even if you were to give yourself a bath with some drops in, would you not recommend doing that as well?
Correct. I would not recommend.
Okay.
One, because they won't disperse well in the bath, just drops in. You have to use some sort of a carrier like your shampoo in order to really disperse them. Otherwise, they just sit there, and you're risking actually burning your skin on the oils, because they just kind of sit on the water.
Okay.
I really recommend like those herbal sitz baths, the ones that like come in the tea bags and stuff like that, because it's the full herb, and you get a lot more from it than you do from just the essential oil. A lot of places where the whole herb is actually kind of a safer go-to and a better go-to, because when you keep that whole plant in its entirety, you know, you have components that don't come out in the, you know, essential oil. So it's more to the party, if you will. So I really recommend those sitz baths. If you're going to sit in the bathtub, I wouldn't put the oils in there. Just keep to the baggies right after, because you don't want to use anything really around a newborn till they're about 3 months old. Just because of their skin and their liver and everything's just so new, you've got to give it to adapt to the world. Okay,
well, this is brilliant. I'm just wondering, is there anything that I haven't asked you that a woman that is expecting a baby needs to know about essential oils? Is there an essential oil we haven't mentioned that she needs in her bag? Or is there something I haven't asked you just because I don't know enough about essential oils?
I think we've done a pretty good cover, because we've done a lot of the essential oils that are really good to use. You know, they're kind of like your more easy to find go-tos. Yeah. And then we've gone over, you know, some reasons why you don't want to use some. We've gone over dilution and carrier oils and all the main issues. Obviously, if anybody has any questions and they pose them to you, I'd be happy to answer them at any point in time.
Okay, perfect. I'm just wondering whether it's worth mentioning a point about, you know, the reliability of certain brands. We're not going to dive into certain brands, but, you know, when you are shopping for essential oils, is there anything to sort of look out for? You mentioned already looking at the safety considerations on websites, but, you know, one thing that I get alerted to is if I'm shopping online, for example, and I buy tea tree oil quite a lot, And, you know, you see one bottle of tea tree oil at $4.99 and another bottle at $8.99, and it's the same amount in the bottle. You're like, whoa. But for me, I'm like, I'm going to go for the $8.99 because that's clearly probably using a better quality of oil. It probably is organic, or it's got a good source, or, you know, so is there anything that we need to maybe just think about that you could share? You know, I'm just sort of reeling off this stuff about organic and a good source, but from your perspective, to help people shop better and buy better quality products, what to look for, and you know, just to help them in that buying process. Is there anything else you can share around that?
Yes, you want to look for, when you go to buy your oils, price can be a factor, and in some ways it also isn't, because purity is purity regardless. And so as long as the company is being true to their word, yes, I did not.
No. And I think this is a really important point to make, because I used to work in the beauty industry and I know what stuff goes in beauty products and it makes me shudder. And I also know what they don't have to tell you what goes in beauty products, and that also makes me shudder, that I've basically walked away from a lot of beauty products, which is why I'm using coconut oil, which is why I use a lot of essential oils, because I just think I cannot bear what the beauty industry is peddling. And so I think we just need to be clear shopping for products that it's not always very clear. They might say 100% pure, and actually they probably just need to be putting 3 drops of the pure stuff in, and they're going to pad it out the rest with something else, and you think you're buying one thing and you're not. And so, right. You know, I just think we need to be, you know, really clear on what, you know, like here in the UK, when we're being sold a natural product, the word natural carries absolutely no weight whatsoever, and they don't have to demonstrate natural at all. So it means nothing. It's a marketing word. So I'm sure the same kind of things is going on within the essential oil industry. Yeah, she's nodding.
I am not. I'm waiting for you to stop talking before I say yes.
Go on. Tell me. So tell us, be honest.
So, be honest. Well, you know, I mean, with anything, especially with the popularity of essential oils, companies see dollars. And when those companies see dollars, they don't care about how they get to those dollars. They just want those dollars. So a lot of companies are jumping in right now into essential oils and selling them, even though they have no idea what they're doing. So what you want to look for, you know, when you go to buy a bottle, you want it to have the common name, like lavender. And then underneath that, you want it to say what the Latin name is. So you want it to say Lavandula angustifolia. Because sometimes the Latin name, if they have one on there, doesn't match the common name. And you're going, wait, what's in here? Sometimes, you know, then you look at the Latin name, you go, that's a completely different plant. And so knowing the Latin name of the essential oil you want is very important, because you want to see that on that bottle. It just helps with that clarification process. Okay, what is in this bottle? Tea tree. Okay, you know, where is it from? So once again, you want to look for, okay, it should have a country of origin. You know, so for tea tree, you know, seeing Australia, great. That's somewhere that tea tree actually grows.
Yeah. Iceland, no.
Exactly. You know, you want to see a country of origin on there, and you want it to make sense for that oil. And now, obviously, a lot of stuff is being grown in China right now because, well, the Chinese do it fast. Now, does that necessarily make a pure product? Yes, it probably does, because it's the plant being grown there. But it might not be the best quality. But quality is really going to be subjective. You know, what I love about a lavender, you might hate. You know, if I really love a, you know, kind of a more florally, you know, lavender, you might want a more herby one. And that could just depend on, you know, growing season or time of year it was harvested. Essential oils are a lot like a fine wine. And how the growing happened really can affect the essential oil that comes out on the other end. So looking for that common name, the Latin name, country of origin. You want to see a distillation date. Knowing when it was distilled is very important, because all oils do have a shelf life. You know, some essential oils, your citrus essential oils, your lemons, your bergamots, it's only 1 or 2 years. Whereas your resins, your frankincense, myrrhs, those can last 9 or 10 years, but they still have a shelf life. At some point, oxygen is going to get into the bottle, and the oil's not going to be the same oil it was when it was distilled. So a distillation date is really something to look for. And if it's not on the bottle, calling the company and asking for it. Okay, well, here's, you know, the code on here saying, you know, the batch number or whatever. You know, when was this distilled? And if the company goes, maybe you don't give them your business. You know, we talk in especially the global economy that we kind of have, we talk with our wallets. We tell companies what we find acceptable with our wallets. So don't buy from the company if they do something that you don't like. It's how you get your point across. They don't care how many times you write them and say, you guys should do this different. They don't care as long as the money's coming in. As long as the dollars are there, they don't care. Yeah. So do what you can and talk with your wallet.
Brilliant advice. So yeah, the one thing I picked up on with price is that the prices of, you need to touch on this a bit, is they fluctuate quite a bit because of the harvest. So if there's been a rain, like a flooding in wherever they're grown, suddenly, as you would with the price of coffee or bananas, suddenly the price will just shoot up because there's hardly any, there's hardly any around. So yeah, I think it's worth bearing in mind that you might, sometimes what can be a really good clue, or at least in my experience, is when you see a range of essential oils where all the prices are a little bit all over the place, where the bottle of this might be $8.93 and the bottle of that might be $7.22. They're not like selling everything at $4.99. If you see the whole range at $4.99, run.
Run, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Whereas if you see this kind of different pricing going on, you can see that they're responding to the market forces. And they're probably being a lot more, they're closer to their product, aren't they? They're kind of more aware of what they're doing. They're not just seeing it as a marketing opportunity, and that therefore they're going to be looking at the quality of the product a little bit. Yeah. You would hope. When you go to Walmart and, all the oils are $2.97. Yeah, walk away.
Just, walk away. Go next door to the vitamin store. Buy them there where the prices are all, accurate for that product.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, I feel like we could talk forever, but we do have to wrap it up because we have been chatting for a while. So is there anything else that we haven't said that we need to say? Other than your website and where people can find you?
So you can find me and ask me more questions of what we didn't cover today. My website, and I will send you a link to everything, is theapothecaryinstitute.com. Because at some point I will have a school to where you can, do a full. I do have a free introductory course right now on my website. When you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free introductory course to essential oils.
Brilliant.
It goes a lot of the basics without going too in depth, because most people don't need a ton of information when they start. So I have a great little intro class whenever you sign up for the newsletter. On Facebook, I am Holistic Health Helper LLC, and it is just like that, because I am all about the holistic side and helping health.
Brilliant.
And I am working on my herbalism certification now, and my aromatic medicine one as well. So that is, a way for me to be well-rounded. And so the business obviously shows that.
Brilliant. So you're going to send me all those links. All those links are going to be in the show notes.
Yes,
free newsletter e-course. Brilliant. I'm sure loads of women are going to sign up for that. So yeah, well, thank you once again, Amber, for joining me on the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate being here.
Well, wasn't Amber brilliant? She shared so much amazing information, and I love those little baggies. That idea is absolutely brilliant. Hacking essential oils in pregnancy. Love it. Now, if you want to get hold of that download that we talked about, the list that we talked about, then all you need to do is go to fearfreechildbirth.com/316. That's the episode number for today's episode. So all you need to do is go to that URL and you'll be able to download the list of essential oils that you need to avoid, and then the list of essential oils that you can use with care during pregnancy, because as she mentioned, you can't go too crazy with some of this stuff because of their potency levels. So just to get hold of that, you go to fearfreechildbirth.com/316. Now, also at the beginning of the episode, I talked about the Fearless Birth Prep Challenge. So if you're pregnant and you want help getting ready for your birth, cutting through the overwhelm, not getting confused, and basically having a clear plan that gives you confidence about your birth, then why not join in the challenge? There are prizes to be had for everybody that takes part. Not everybody that takes part, obviously, but most winners will get prizes, obviously. So if you want to take part in the challenge, then you just need to go to fearfreechildbirth.com/challenge, and you will be on the list, and you'll get all the details about joining in the challenge when it starts in the next few weeks. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now. You've just been listening to me, Alexia Leachman, here on the Fear Free Childbirth podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, this is just a wee reminder that if you'd like to listen to bonus podcast episodes and have access to loads of birth preparation downloads, my video mini-series on reducing your fears and so much more, then join the Fearless Mummership community today. You can join at fearfreechildbirth.com. Until next time, bye for now.